My name is Philippe. I'm working on the Podman desktop team, and during the developer week, I have worked on enhancing the Kubernetes dashboard of Podman desktop to provide more tools for developers and for operators developers mainly. To install it, for the moment it is a preview, so you can get the image to install the extension into my own Quay.io repository. And to install it, you go to the extensions, install custom, you paste the name of the image, and you install it. Now you have the Kubernetes logo here, and here there is a new few entries into the menu. We will start with the custom resource. So for this, there is a new entry into the settings for the extension. You can say that you want to work with a custom resource. For the moment, we can define only one resource, but in the future we may add support for multiple resources, custom resources. And now here I have defined the PostgreSQL, the resource clusters from the PostgreSQL operator. And when this is done, if you go to the custom resource, you can see the list of the clusters defined into my Kubernetes cluster, and you can get the details. You can see that there are a few columns here. These columns are not hard-coded, they are fetched from the custom resource definition, and they are exactly the same as the ones displayed by kubectl or probably other tools, because these columns are defined into the custom resource definition itself. The next thing I have added to the dashboard is to explore the managed fields. These are available everywhere, so into the pods and into every resources. So the managed fields, when you have a resource, any resource in Kubernetes, can be modified by different managers, by the kubectl, by some operator, by kubelet, and so on. And the managed field has been something introduced into the API to save which field is owned by each manager. So let's start again to create the cluster again to see what happens. So here I have a definition, a very simple definition of a cluster, and if I apply this definition, you can see the managed field. There were two managers, the kubectl client-side apply and the manager. The client-side apply it is owning all these fields, so you can see the ones defined into the manifest, this one and this one, and also a lot of other spec fields. These are the default one which has been populated by the client side, because this is a client side apply. If we do it again, but this time by server side apply, here kubectl apply, you can add this flag to use the server side thing, and this time you can see that kubectl only owns the ones which has been set into the manifest, and not all the default fields which are not owned by the kubectl this time. And we can see the manager which has set on his side, which has done some job, and which has set the status of the cluster instance. And we can see that some other fields are not owned by anyone. Another thing I have added to the dashboard is the workloads page. So into the workloads, you can see all the resources which are at the end creating a pod, a workload. And here we have a cluster which has created a pod. If we create a deployment, here we can create a deployment with an Nginx image, and this one appears into the workloads page. We can see the deployment which has created a replica set which has created a pod. The last and not least thing I have added during the developer week is the debugger page. So if I delete the deployment and create it again, but this time I will start the debugger, we will see what happens. So you can see all the events which happen into the Kubernetes cluster. So by event, I am talking of when you get resources from the API of Kubernetes, you can run a watch command, and the API server will send you all the events happening into these resources, like new resource, update resource, delete resource, on all resources. And so here the dashboard is capturing all these events, and these events are not played into the dashboard. So here into the cluster, you can see that the deployment has been really created 1 minute ago. But if you go into the dashboard, it has not been created. I would say it is not reflected because all the events are blocked into the debugger and they are not played into the dashboard. So we can play these events one by one. Here I have played the create deployment, and now the deployment is created. The next one is the kube controller manager has created a replica set, and so we can play it, and we can see into the workloads that the replica set has been created, and we can continue step by step to see what happens. You can get some details here for an update event. For example, you may want to see what has changed, and so here you can see that the annotation with the revision has been added and the status condition has been added. So that's it for the demo. Thanks to everyone.